What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I'm making this video because there's this interesting article that I wanted to read about how, pertaining to draft pick value by Matt Miller. So I wanted to read and discuss that. Also, I wanted to give you, some of the updated injury information as well. So let's get right into it. First and foremost, Jakeem Grant and Xavier Howard are both at practice, but in a limited capacity. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously we could really use Xavier Howard for sure. If he doesn't play, then there's about as little chance of us doing anything as could possibly be. I'll get into my preview video tomorrow. One of the reasons why I do my videos on Saturday is because I like to get the full injury reports, the full and final injury reports, to kind of see what we're looking at for this next game. But anyway, also Avery Moss, Daniel Kilgore, and Rashad Jones are not at practice, so another straight day. So the third straight day that all of those guys are not practicing. So do not expect to see Rashad Jones, Daniel Kilgore, or Avery Moss, which, those are, obviously Rashad Jones is a big hit to the defense. Daniel Kilgore, our center, is a big hit to the offense, and especially that offensive line. Really the whole thing, obviously. And then Avery Moss, defensive end. That hurts our defensive line, and the defense as a whole. So, and we still have another 8 guys that are on the injury report on top of that as well, something like that. We had 13 players on the injury report, or have 13 injuries, somewhere in there, 10 or more for sure. Anyway, so we're really beat up going into this game, and the Bills are getting rested and coming off their bye week and so on and so forth, and getting some key players back. So we'll see how that turns out. But anyway, let me go ahead and get into this article real quick. Like I said, by Matt Miller. Matt Miller's scouting notebook. What happened to NFL draft pick value? There was a time not too long ago when NFL front offices wouldn't part with draft picks for anything. Want to trade for a starting caliber quarterback? Better not ask for a first round pick in exchange for him. Case in point, the San Francisco 49ers acquired Jimmy Garoppolo, a highly coveted quarterback who was on the last year of his rookie deal, for a second-round pick. That's it, because the 49ers and every other team weren't willing to part with first-round picks, even though a multitude of football minds knew Garoppolo was a starting quarterback. First-round picks were kept at all costs, and this was October 2017. Then something changed. NFL teams started sending picks off for players at a high rate. Kansas City Chiefs general manager Brett Veach helped start the trend by sending late-round picks in exchange for formerly highly valued players such as linebacker Reggie Ragland, acquired for a conditional 2019 fourth-rounder, and offensive lineman Cameron Irving, acquired for a 2018 fifth-rounder. The idea of sending day 3 draft picks for players who were either proven or had high potential in their pre-draft reports took off. We still see moves like this today, as evidenced by the Los Angeles Rams trading a 2021 fifth-rounder for center Austin Corbett, who was the number 33 overall pick in the 2018 draft. Why, though, has the NFL become more trade-friendly in the last few seasons? Former Cleveland Browns CEO Joe Banner believes it's because of the miss rate in the draft. With teams only hitting on 50% of first-round picks and virtually no team without cap room, the value of a proven veteran has gone up and an unknown draft pick has gone down. When cap was tight, teams needed to hit on cheaper draft picks to be able to afford veterans. Now you can build a much higher percentage of your team with established players. But let's be clear though. In this, they're talking about established players, players who are proven and or guys who had, immense praise and grades and so on and so forth in their pre-draft process or whatever. But that also comes with, at the very least, in addition to that, some time and some evidence to how they're developing and so on and so forth. So just make that clear, because this article's kind of short, and he sums it up, but there's some additional pieces of context that should be thrown in there as well. Anyway, the Rams are attempting to load up for a Super Bowl run with this mindset. The Chiefs traded for cornerback Kendall Fuller and defensive end Frank Clark as huge parts of their defensive identity. The Cleveland Browns traded for wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. in a massive move. And let's also mention, though, that like the Browns are super struggling. They're actually 2-4. So again, the one team that we look at as a rebuild example, super struggling. Who is it? The Rams and Kansas City Chiefs. Definitely two of the more premier teams in the league, but neither of those teams did a tank to get to where they're at. This isn't about that. But obviously I'm trying to relate it to the Dolphins as, and what we're doing, because we have a lot of cap space and a lot of, draft capital, right? So, like I said, I like to make sure you have different perspectives and all the different angles and information and so on and so forth. But this is how it is, though. And this is, so basically what he's saying is the NFL is moving, although I think overall it's kind of a silly thing, because you need to build through the draft. But I do get the ideas, is because, and it's part of my argument that draft picks are just so uncertain. But what they're talking about in here is a process that is very data driven, right? Because as he's mentioned in this article on a couple occasions, it's proven guys, right? So, they're not just, taking flyers on, guys who, sucked in the previous place that they were in, right? Which is part of the problem that I have with, some of with when you look at the former first round picks that we have on this team, and especially the ones we got rid of proven guys like Laramie Tunsil and Minkah Fitzpatrick. And then frankly, like if you go across the board, right from the beginning in the purge, you know what you're getting out of, Cameron Wake and Ryan Tannehill and Frank Gore and Danny Amendola and Juwan James, Kiko Alonso, right? All these guys, right? You're getting rid of proven guys for, a shot in the dark with the draft picks. And then you got to get it right, though, too. You got to evaluate. But the other first round guys we have, Taco Charlton, Josh Rosen, Robert Kimdichie, right? But all these guys are, Devontae Parker, Christian Wilkins is obviously only in his rookie season, so you grade him less harshly than some of the others, and they're all in varying parts of their rookie deals, right? Parker, he's out of it now, because he got the extension, but you could consider it like his fifth year or whatever, fifth year option. But this is it for Parker. Me, I would have let him go this offseason, or I would have traded him, this offseason or whatever. I would have done things way different. But all these guys are far closer to bust status, though, and then you're certainly not helping them out with, the team that they're on and the way you built this team. And then also too, this is not talking about, this is not saying in free agency, go out and spend all your cap space on free agents and stuff because you have the room. We've seen how that turns out, and that doesn't, generally speaking, teams who go out and are the big splash spenders in free agency, it tends to backfire far more often than not. And so this, to be clear, this is not what they're talking about, right? They're talking about it is actually a smart strategy, right? So, but so it's in a sense, it still is building through the draft, right? It's just instead of actually picking guys that, maybe don't, work out or what have you, or aren't as good as you thought, or maybe they get injured or whatever, right? Instead, you trade those picks for proven guys, right? Like, whereas we traded our 2nd round pick from this past draft and a 5th round pick from next year to get Josh Rosen. There was nothing about Josh Rosen that was proven. And in fact, sure, he did all right in college, but in college, he showed, the major flaws that he has now, like with making his reads and, anticipation and other things like that, blah, 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 right? With his body language and his footwork, stuff like that. And then last year, those flaws were massively exposed because he didn't have a good offensive line. But under that duress and pressure, he proved that he, didn't really rise to the occasion, right? Whereas, again, if you compare Ryan Tannehill's rookie stats to Josh Rosen's, they're vastly different. Not to mention, Ryan Tannehill set rookie records for the Dolphins franchise when he was a rookie quarterback that was thrown into the fire, right? So, way different results. But he proved that, you're not going to get a very good result in that case, right? So nothing about Josh Rosen was proven, polished, or ready for, and that's being bore out, right? So, anyway, even though the results haven't been immediate, these remain some of the NFL's most promising teams, the Rams and the Chiefs. The Browns, though, of course, are super struggling. They're shifting into win now mode by being aggressive in the trade market. Also, to the Browns, again, way different than the Rams and the Chiefs. The Rams and the Chiefs didn't even do a tank at all, right? Like the Chiefs, they moved up a few spots to get Patrick Mahomes. It wasn't even that many. It was like 2 or 3 spots, but they moved up to get Patrick Mahomes. But they already had a solid team around him to come in. And he did get a year to sit behind Alex Smith, right? Which is ideally what you want. You want to give a young quarterback, some time to adjust into the NFL, have a veteran, established guy to kind of learn behind, and so on and so forth. So there are very big, stark differences between like the Browns and those other two, right? The Browns actually did, tank out, and look at the results. Right now they're 2-4. They have all of this talent and they're super struggling. Anyway, they're able to do that because a good number of young and aggressive general managers are viewing draft picks as risky. Would you rather be the Rams with 2 late first-round picks that might not make huge impacts, or the best young cornerback in football, Jalen Ramsey, formerly of the Jacksonville Jaguars? And that's part of my argument for why the extent, for sure, at the very least, even if you agree with the tanking process, which I don't, but even at the very least, if you do, the extent of it is just absurd and abhorrent, because you don't get rid of a generational talent in left tackle Laramie Tunsil and proven commodities in Minkah Fitzpatrick and Kenny Stills and Kiko Alonso and all these other guys. Why are you getting rid of these guys? Like, they're proven guys. And again, part of my argument is that all the guys that they're bringing in are massive downgrades. And again, to my point about the guys that were taken from the AAF, not a single one of them made it on this team. And one of my big rationales back in the day, those months ago, was that these are guys that failed out of the NFL already, right? Like everybody, Tyrone Elliott, everybody was making a big deal about him because we got the top pass rusher in the AAF that lasted like a few months. They played a few games, but we got the top pass rusher from the AAF. He had like 7 sacks, didn't even make the team. In fact, he was like one of the first ones cut. So, but none of them ended up making the team. They failed in the NFL already. They had failed in a failed league. And like, so again, like, and I do not have confidence that this regime is going to get any of their draft picks correctly. For many general managers, taking the proven asset over the unproven value of a draft pick is the way to go, which begs the question, who is next? Again, though, this is like pseudo building through the draft because you're using your draft capital, but you're getting proven guys, right? Whereas you can use, I read you the one article that was saying, you know, like 14 out of the past, or out of the past 14 first, out of the past 14 first overall picks that were quarterbacks, only one of them has a Super Bowl to their name, and that's Eli Manning. Okay, so I mean, you know, it's far more likely that first round pick just ends up getting wasted, just flat out wasted, right? Because if he ends up being a bust, or if he gets hurt, if you trade him, whatever, then it's a waste. So yeah, I actually would rather give up 2 first round picks to get a proven guy, you know, in his prime, blah, 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 than, you know, again, these guys are saying at, you know, 50% chance, although I think the probability is probably lower than that. But anyway, let's continue on though. Washington Redskins left tackle Trent Williams is the object of many teams' affection, but the front office has, to date, expressed no interest in trading him. The same is true for Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver A.J. Green, who will be a free agent after the season. A few teams, the Philadelphia Eagles and Green Bay Packers most likely, would be interested in Green, but the Bengals say they aren't trading him. Some teams would like to be buyers at the deadline, and already we're seeing reports that the Miami Dolphins would be willing to trade impending free agent running back Kenyon Drake. But the current expectation from league insiders is that the big deals are done unless the Redskins or Bengals change course as the Tuesday deadline looms. The Scouts report, speaking of trades, the Los Angeles Rams had a quick but effective makeover this week by adding Jalen Ramsey, Austin Corbett, Kenny Young, and a 2020 fifth rounder in exchange for Marcus Peters, a 2020 first rounder, a 2021 first rounder, fourth rounder, and fifth rounder. As mentioned above, this is the new age thinking of flipping late round picks for players, Young and Corbett, who were highly valued in their pre-draft process. Corbett was the number 33 overall pick in 2018 and graded number 40 on my big board. He wasn't able to crack the lineup in Cleveland, but a different offensive scheme might fix what has kept him off the field. Similarly, Young has been a healthy scratch at times in Baltimore, but he was drafted number 122 overall in 2018, graded number 291 on my board, and has athleticism in a position of need in LA. The Ramsey addition is obvious. He's 24 years old and arguably the best cornerback in football. Whatever the cost, the Rams were unlikely to find a cornerback of that caliber in the late area of the first round where they expect to be selecting. What's the trade value of Gardner Minshew II? Should the Jacksonville Jaguars want to replace the rookie quarterback with veteran Nick Foles when he returns from injury? Why would they do that, is how a former general manager responded when asked. When pushed to play along, he replied, if you're going to trade someone, you trade Foles. Even though his contract is bigger, he's proven and you know what the return is, so there's value in that. If Teddy Bridgewater is being traded for a second rounder, Foles would get at least that back. Pause real quick there. That's also part of the reason why I said that we should keep Ryan Tannehill, because you know what you're getting. He is an above average quarterback and somebody that would be good to groom a young guy above, right? Somebody that you could use to groom a young guy, and we could have gotten Will Greer in the third. I mean, imagine if we had Laramie Tunsil, Garrett Bradbury in the center. Again, we just lost ours for at least this next game. Jawan James, you find a way to keep him at right guard, or right tackle. Jesse Davis at right guard, and then find somebody, you know, maybe even Michael Dieter. No, because we wouldn't have taken him. But, I don't know. Find somebody for left guard or whatever. And then you have Ryan Tannehill and Will Greer behind him. Like, you know what you're getting out of him. Whereas, and you even knew what you're getting out of Ryan Fitzpatrick and Josh Rosen, but it wasn't anything good or anything that was going to help you for the short term or the long term, as is, you know, pretty clear. Both in the short term, because we have the hardcore evidence to prove it's been a disaster in the short term, and the long term, because we know Fitzpatrick is not the future of this franchise, and it's looking increasingly every day as if Josh Rosen is not going to be either. Said a current director of pro scouting, with Gardner, we really need to see more. Is he Matt Castle or is he Garoppolo? I think he's the latter, but only time and reps will tell that story. Miami Dolphins running back Kenyon Drake, as mentioned earlier, is on the trade block according to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport. Drake, who will be a free agent after the season, is an intriguing 3-down option, but also a player who struggled to stay healthy or emerge as a feature back. To be fair, it's more the feature back thing than the stay healthy, but he has had some, you know, minor injuries here and there. Teams looking for depth could be interested, but the clubs currently in playoff position don't have needs at running back, and teams on the outside have no incentive to trade for a future free agent. Drake's market might be very limited heading into the trade deadline. Quote of the week. And so that's part of the reason why, like, I feel like the Dolphins will probably end up trading him, but get less than they should. Quote of the week. An AFC area scout sent this over while watching Alabama game tape. Jerry Jeudy is a glitch. Jeudy is indeed a cheat code for Alabama at wide receiver. He should be a top 5 selection. Anyway, that's the end of that. I just wanted to throw that in there for some additional context for you guys and stuff like that. Also, real quick, Matt Miller has a mock draft made up at the end of this, and Cincinnati starts off with the top pick in his mock draft. He says they're going to get the number 1 pick, and they take Tua Tagovailoa. Then we come in at number 2 and get edge rusher Chase Young, and then we get Joe Burrow, quarterback Joe Burrow, at number 8 from Pittsburgh, the quarterback out of LSU. For me, that would be a terrible way to start the draft. Absolutely terrible. One, because I would never take a quarterback in rounds 1 or 2, but I would take one every year in round 3 or later. And also because while Chase Young is one of the premier, defensive linemen, pass rushers in this draft, we need other shit far greater. I mean, we need across the board. We need to fill starters at every position on this roster, but yeah, anyway, that's all I got for you guys, so I'm gonna get up out of here. I hope you guys enjoy my videos. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Make sure you share it with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section, and of course, as always, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.